So welcome to Declassified Panels. These are panels that I've done in the past for conventions, specifically for Anime Week in Atlanta in the past few years. And I've done panels, kind of going into my history doing panels. I've done panels since 2011. Started that at Animazement with some people. That was called What the Damn Moments in Anime, which was just kind of our rendition of Anime Hell in a way. But since then, I did a panel for a number of years called What the Heck Moments in Anime that I would either have late at night or during the day at smaller cons or whatever. But I started to kind of venture out into doing other things that I was interested in. And so in 2019, I believe, I did a panel on, actually, it might have been 2018. So in 2018, I believe for Anime Week in Atlanta, I did History of Gundam in America, or I guess Gundam in America, where I talked about how Gundam was represented in America, either being, what came over here, what was being worked on kind of stuff. And so I kind of put together this timeline here illustrating or showcasing like the information up until 2017 that I had of what came out in America in terms of what kind of Gundam we got, how was it promoted, and things like that. And I will kind of go through this, and I've got some editing I can add in here to show some other sources as well. But so Gundam is, in terms of Gundam in America, in terms of how it's been marketed, we figured most people would know when Toonami had Gundam Wing on Cartoon Network in March of 2000. Yeah, March of 2000. And, people thought that's when Gundam first came out here. But Gundam has been coming out here in America for quite a long time, actually. Whether it's been somewhat promoted or tried to be promoted, but it really got heavily promoted in 2000, for sure. And that's kind of when people really started getting into it. And that's how I became a Gundam fan, was through Gundam Wing. So we'll just kind of go through this timeline. I know with this, I just kind of set everything off the top of my brain, and I know I'm going back in time 5 or 6 years at this point from the information I had. And I'm kind of doing this on a whim because today's another sick day for me. So I'll be editing out me coughing and sneezing or whatever. Because I don't want you to hear me going, man. Here we go. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while, is go through my panels and putting them up on YouTube. And, I could always do it again, but I just kind of want to put this stuff out there for people. So let's go back to the year of 1983. And I just got to hit play on this. So give it a moment. Yeah, there we go. 1983. So we have an untitled Mobile Suit Gundam movie that was mentioned around November. And this is regarding... the only thing we really got was there was a script leaked on archive.org, but also there was an article written about it on Zimmer.moe, the guy named Sean O'Mara, who was a previous writer from Colony Drop, who did a blog on there for a number of years, kind of did his own website here, going into sort of the niche of fandom between American and Japanese that not a lot of people don't really put a lot of thought into. And I think through here, I have some concept art that, here we go, that Sid Mead did. Oh, this is stupid. Maybe this is not going to go away, this stupid bar or whatever. Anyway, so right in here where the mouse is at, this is concept art that Sid Mead, who is a Hollywood concept artist who worked on a lot of movies. He even worked on concept art for Turn A Gundam. Was doing some art designs for this untitled Gundam movie. And think about it that, the show came out in 79, the original Gundam, and this is before Zeta Gundam, before, probably the concept of doing a sequel to Mobile Suit Gundam was even considered a thing, or even in the works, and nobody wanted to work on it like Tomino or whatever. It was actually a really good YouTube video I came across, talking about the history of Zeta Gundam. Let me see if I can get on. Yeah, I think it's right here. So anyways, yeah, right here. This guy put 3-hour video of an entire, basically retrospective history of Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. I've gotten through part of it. That's kind of what I think. Like if you watch this video, you're watching half of Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. But there's a whole lot of information in here, so definitely check this out. And obviously, the YouTuber is again Argon Bolt. So I'm gonna link that hopefully in the description if I go through here and I know what I'm doing. Anyways, but this was kind of an alright. So going into this movie, this was kind of an interesting concept in terms of them retelling the Mobile Suit Gundam story. And the script, like I said, is on archive.org, and it should still be there even after the hack happened recently. That looks a lot better now. Okay. But it was a matter of like Char and Amuro being related, and then Char gets abducted by the Zeons or whatever, and like there's even like a script. I said the script, but like it's actually not just the pilot or test, but like the whole thing out there. And I read part of it, and it seemed like a pretty cool concept or whatever. So people fly around like this is obviously a Sid Mead design right here. Anyways, but so the script is seems really interesting. Like this is the kind of Gundam movie I would like to be seen made, even if it's a retelling. So like, okay, here's some concept art. Here's some more stuff on it. So like, this is just like the storyboarding over here, um, regarding Amuro getting involved and getting in the Gundam, and then it seems like it's in like a G Gundam kind of thing where like it's 3 dimensional around him and it's not really sitting in a cockpit, but like there's DOMs and stuff that he has to fight. And this is him going down like an elevator shaft or whatever and gets into the Gundam. So that's kind of a protagonist there. So that was the cover of it, I believe, and I'm trying to think why that was in there. But that is something I definitely want to see. So you go to 1988. So this is interesting. So in terms of the next time that Gundam was brought up was in '88 through a magazine called Animag. If you people in the '90s and the 2000s grew up getting your information on magazines about anime, it would be through the magazine called Animerica. Well, Animag was the predecessor to that, and one of the founding people of that magazine is Toshifumi Yoshida and Trish Ledoux. And Toshifumi Yoshida and Trish Ledoux have been in the anime industry since working with Viz, and they were part of Animag, and getting that information out there. And this is more of a zine thing, but it started getting more out there really, and this is the kind of stuff that was being sold at comic book stores or whatever at that time in the early 90s, in late 80s, early 90s. But this is their write-up transcript for Zeta Gundam that they're writing up at the time. And the way Trish told it to me years ago at Animazement was the fact that they had somebody that did do translation for them, and they did the translations the best they could. They couldn't understand fully what was happening in the episode. They were just trying to gather the key moments of the episode and then writing it up as episode synopsis in Animag magazine. So these, Animag would do these OVA or series synopsis for people that to get them to check out the show, but also like if they couldn't get a way to get a hold of it, because this was the physical media era of the time of anime fandom. This was before anything was digital and easily accessible as it is now. That if you can get a hold of anime, you got whatever you could because it was anime. You didn't care what it was. But in this case, if you couldn't get a hold of it, then the people at Animag would write up these story synopsis on the episodes of what's happening, so you can kind of follow along with the show. So, say for example, if you did get a raw of, a tape or whatever through a trade, and it didn't have subtitles on it, and it was Zeta Gundam, you can at least understand what was sort of happening in the show. So that was kind of like the next rendition of Animag. This is based on what I was able to find of this information when I did this panel back in like 2017 as I was writing this stuff up. So that's a bit of a history there for Animag. So we go on to 1990, and this is when the Gundam novels were released. The Gundam novels, and these are actually my 3 copies that I got from a secondhand shop that sadly no longer exists. That was in the Raleigh area, because I lived in Raleigh for a number of years, and I got these books at this secondhand shop that used to be a model kit shop called Hungates, and they went at it. The owner died, and the owner sold off the stuff, so then it became like this like niche like nerd hobby shop or whatever that was owned by this old man, and then they moved out of the Cary Town Center Mall to go to this other location, and now it's become a generic like comic book shop because obviously that makes some money now, which is pretty sad. But now that mall at Cary Town Center is the new headquarters of Epic Games, and last I heard it was still being built because they were making $1 billion a month off Fortnite, and nobody cares about Fortnite anymore, and they destroyed my favorite mall. But malls are dying, so it's really sad. My whole discussion of like Cary, North Carolina, and that in the Raleigh area is for another time because that's where I came. But I will say this: I've been in, where I'm at in South Carolina for 16 years, and apparently every time I go up there to Raleigh to visit friends, or when I was going to Animazement, it seemed like it was things were changing so much that the town that I left is no longer the town I remember. But besides from that, so these are the novels that were released in 1990 that were translated by Fred Schott. Um, and obviously, since then, there's been two more releases. There was one that was a silver book in the early 2000s that went for a ton of money, but then it got reprinted, I think, about 10 years ago at this point. That is still readily available to read and still buy. So, obviously, now in English for the first time, Yoshiyuki's Tomino's Mobile Suit Gundam. These these novels, the way Tomino wrote the story, uh, differs in terms of how the anime was. But I will say this because I had a buddy of mine. We do a podcast together, and he read through these three original novels right here. And to put it in the term of batshit crazy is a good way to put it, because that's exactly what happens. There's if you've heard things about like, oh, it's something about Amuro being obsessed with pubic hair. That's not even the worst of what was written in there. Because and I think Fred Schott is reading this and he's just like, what the heck am I transcribing? Well, this is what I'm getting from it. And I don't know how much of that has changed from like these original copies that were released to the new ones in terms of like the rewriting. I know some of the terms like Zaku was Zach, Shar is Sha, SHA, because you're transcribing what I'm trying to understand from at the time in 1990. But this goes off the rails completely. Like the anime is so tame compared to what's in these novels, and I really really need to get around to reading these. Even though I had them and I have them for years, and I am not the best reader at all. But this is definitely worth it if you're a Gundam fan and you haven't read these novels yet. But if you can get a hold of these original ones, it's pretty cool. I mean, I remember not spending that much on them, so I'm glad I have them, and they're pretty awesome to have. Anyways, so then we had those the novels that came out in 1990. Now we go to 1993, and this is when the Gundam 0080 comic book started coming out by Viz Media. And so what they did is they took the OVAs. The OVA of 0083 came out in like 1991, and I believe this is probably before, or maybe around the time that the VHS tapes for Gundam 0083. Actually, it was before the VHS tapes came out from Bandai. I think it was Anime Village or something was the label that they put on putting Gundam out on VHS. It was like that with 0083 and 0080. But they decided to make a comic book series off the OVA, colorized in these issues. So this was like more of the comic mangas that Viz was putting out at the time because, back then they didn't really know how they were going to market the basically manga at the time because in America, well, anything that's looks cartoonish on paper is a comic. Just put everything as a comic, which is why we have like the Akira comics, which is basically a manga put into comic book form. And I've got a number of these, like between Gunsmith Cats. That was Gunsmith Cats is by Dark Horse. Pat Labor and a few others. Pat Labor is also another one that was in comic book form by Viz Media. So with these, it's basically it seems like they took screenshots of these OVAs and put them in comic book form, as a way to also get Gundam out there for people. So if you wanted to read Mobile Suit Gundam in comic book form, especially the 0083 OVAs, before you can get it on video and see it for yourself, so this is the way to catch and read that story. But there's still a really cool timepiece or time capsule, and not just anime history and and publication or whatever, but in Gundam history in America. So that was the kind of thing that we had. So we get on to 1999, and so this is the first push from obviously Viz Media, and more Gundam was coming out on tape. So we had the Kazuhisa Kondo. I know I messed up that first Kazuhisa, I believe, Kondo. He did his own interpretation or his own telling of the Gundam story in manga form. The VHS tapes were coming out, and also Mix was put out the Blue Destiny manga, If you don't know who Mix is and you know who Tokyo Pop is, they're the same company. So anyway, so we got some more of these VHS tapes that came out. So like I said, we had Gundam 0080 right here. This is after the clamshell case. Then here's the clamshells of 0083. And then we also have the Gundam movies here, these first three movies, on VHS. And these in particular are dubbed. And since then, we've gotten a few releases, or a couple releases of the Gundam compilation movies on DVD. They do not include that dub for whatever reason. I don't know if it's due to rights, licensing, or whatever. But this is the dub I will say that Steve Bloom is Char. If you know who Steve Bloom is, everyone should probably know who Steve Bloom is by now, if you know anime dubbing. He is Char's novel, this character right here. And there's also someone playing as what we'd like to call British Captain Bright. And I believe this is probably where I have a clip of that, but let me see if I can find out. So we'll keep playing here. No, I don't. The clips might have come later. So, I will show the clip of that later here. So, March 6, 2000 is when we had Gundam Wing on Toonami. And we also had some Gundam video games that came out as well. So, Gundam Wing was a staple to get people into Gundam. I have to say, Gundam Wing is not the best Gundam series, by far. But my argument for Gundam Wing, one of my positive arguments for Gundam Wing is that Gundam Wing was the best Gundam show to introduce people to Gundam, to get them to watching more Gundam. Because the more Bandai was into pushing Gundam out there, as they did in the early 2000s, based on Toonami, based on cable, and putting out the games and manga, whatever, it got people into expanding more into the Gundam universe of what was available at that time. And at least what Bandai was able to ship over from Japan to America. I have come to understand that Gundam Wing was essential to get people into Gundam. And Gundam Wing, I need to do a review. I've done a review on my podcast of Gundam Wing, but I like to do one on YouTube at some point. But Gundam Wing is a series that it's like a dysfunctional ant farm. And as much as you want to put your hand in it and try to fix things, you can't. You're just there to observe the universe and how unlogical people act in that show. But I will say that the other positive of Gundam Wing is it has a banger soundtrack. I love the soundtrack to Gundam Wing. It is so good. But I will back to my argument that Gundam Wing, I will stand on the ground that this was a good way. It was a good show to introduce people to Gundam. It wasn't that old, and the show came out in '95, and it came on Toonami in 2000. So a 5-year-old show is not that old. And this is, of course, when we get into the Gundam video games as well. So let me go ahead and continue. So that was kind of the Toonami logo right there that had the promotion for Gundam Wing. We also had the Gundam Wing edit, like the edited for content stuff that came on VHS. But you can also get it unedited. That was the uncut, which is basically, they said damn and hell a couple of times. That you can find at video stores like FYE, Suncoast, Sam Goody. Toys R Us even had Gundam Wing tapes as well. And they aired the uncut Gundam Wing at like the midnight run, 2001, 2002, I believe. And this is also the pricing for Gundam Wing tapes. So, $15 compared to $25, $30. That's actually not a bad deal for Gundam Wing for 4 episodes on a tape. People that grew up in that timeline were before everything transferred to DVD, and they were still doing the format of 4 episodes on a disc for the same price as a tape that you can get both dub and sub for instead of picking sub or dub on VHS. That's still a pretty good price at that time. I mean, there was DBZ tapes that were going for like $30, and I bought, I think right before the VHS crash, I bought like Soul Bianca on VHS for $30, and I still have that tape to this day. So that kind of gives you an idea there. And that's the unedited version of Gundam Wing. So unedited is just blood and some swearing, and that was basically it. So now we move on to the games. So this is my game collection of Gundam games, and this is not all of it. But this is most of the stuff we had in America. So that's like Journey to Jaburo on this crappy GameStop thing right there, because I didn't have a cover for it. And I've actually got like 2 copies of Journey to Jaburo. But like here's Gundam Battle Assault for the PS1. That came out in 2000. There's Battle Assault 2. And so, like, I got Zeonic Front right around my 16th birthday. And Zeonic Front is actually like, if you guys remember playing the old Ghost Recon games, it's very tactical. It's like Ghost Recon meets Gundam, but it is a very detailed like tactical game for Zeonic Front for that game specifically. But one of the first ones is Journey to Jaburo for the PS2. And I will say this: like Gundam games play differently, but you have to adapt to the gameplay to really understand it. Like going back to these games now, like people will probably give up in 5 minutes or less than that because like, the game controllers suck. But this is just how it was at the time. But if you get adapted to using that gameplay, it's a really fun game. Like Encounters in Space was a rail shooter. It got to the rail shooter in certain areas, but that was the one based in space that like takes place in the other half, the second half of Mobile Suit Gundam. Some of the missions there, but this one's also expanded, and this is all the space stuff that happens in Mobile Suit Gundam, and even tackles like 0083, some other stuff. You can go into like some of the side stories of like Shin Matsunaga and Johnny Raiden and things like that. This is a really fun game. Federation versus Zeon is a basic an arcade port. That's also a really fun one. And then Gundam versus Zeta Gundam. That one is very expansive. There's a guy that his name is Jabori on YouTube, Jabori Gaming, and I can see if I can pull him up. But he did a really, really good job of going to these Gundam games on the PS2. Oh my! Oh wait, no. Here it is. Here it is. Yep. Okay, we got it right here. So this is another guy you can check out. I'll definitely link that in the description. He has gone through. Let me scroll this over here. So let me put my mouse back on here. Yeah, so he does Encounters in Space. He talked about Zeonic Front. So these came out a year ago, but this has really gotten him up in like subs on this. So definitely check this guy's YouTube series out to cover these games. He goes into a lot of detail, just the gameplay. He's even covered some other stuff like the Char's Counterattack PS1 game, which I have played, and I remember it not being a bad game. I think I might have it somewhere. I don't know. So, and then of course we got Gundam versus Zeta Gundam right here, and Federation versus Zeon. So yeah, definitely check out this guy's stuff. It's really, really good. So we'll go back to the video here. And there's also the Gundam Seed games as well. So I never really had and then we had later the Gundam Dynasty Warriors games. These are the physical versions of it down here. And then I also got Gundam Crossfire, which was on the PS3, that got a lot of negative press against it. But honestly, I did not hate that game. I thought it was a pretty cool game. Especially for like one of the early titles for the PS3, because usually with Sony games and Gundam games, whatever the first ones are, usually the ones that come out later are much better handled because it's whoever's developing it is just trying to figure out how to utilize the entire system of the PS3 to actually make a pretty good game. And that was the same for these PS2 games also. Okay, so continuing onward. Also, we had Gundam Side Story for the Dreamcast. That also came out in 2000. That is also a really fun first-person game. I specifically wanted a Dreamcast, and then I finally got one and finally got this game just to play this game. This is another one to definitely check out if you can. It's also got Steve Blum in it as a one of the voice actors for one of the characters in the game too. So, also, we're not done here. We got model kits around this time. Gunpla is coming out in America, so this I can totally. I think this is why I was thinking, man, this is going to be a quick panel. No, it's not. And I remember why this is about an hour long. So they started putting Gunpla out in America, and they started marketing this with these. Okay, I got to break this down a little bit. So what you see here is, oh man, I got to rewind this. Hold on. So the way they did it is they sold these at they were selling these at Toys R Us, Walmart, Target, or wherever. You know, basically either taking the Japanese covers, like the Easy 8 has been reprinted like not too long ago. But this is like one of the, I mean, this kit came out in 2000 as Master Grade. I still had these are the kits I have, by the way, or had at the time when I made this panel. I think I sold off the gem. And some of these kits I've sold off. Like this arm broke off, and I got this from a friend of mine. So I got to talk about the packaging since we're looking at it. So they had a way of, and they even had these commercials for it too. Now I believe I have the commercials in this panel. We're gonna find out here in just a minute. I should have went through this, but uh, they're trying to market Gundam as like this cool thing to do and to build model kits and stuff like that. Like you're rad and like tough if you build like plastic models with robots or whatever. And now also added to that was like this hierarchy of your skill level. So they have these skill level 7 for a master grade. I'm just gonna say this, like, and they even have like an age recommendation. I don't know if that's like the toy company corporate bullcrap. That's like kids that are under 10 can't build anything more than 5 parts or something stupid. So like a master grade was like skill level 6 because it had more pieces than a high grade. I mean, imagine like the real grades that are out now are just as detailed, if not more sophisticated than these old master grades. I'm telling you right now, like Bandai has stepped up their game. So yeah, so like, and you also have these little like cards that you can send in to get like these show your rank Gundam thing and earn it. I actually bought some of those off eBay, and I have them on a con jacket, or I did have them. Like, I have one. I had one, or I had one on a con jacket. But I was just like, I built a lot of these. I deserve a earn your rank Gundam pin or whatever that was sent to me by Bandai or whatever. I never filled out the cards, but someone, like I said, someone had on eBay later. I'm like, well, I'll spend money on that. It's $20. I don't care. Anyway, so this is kind of like this is a kit I got from a friend of mine in high school who actually got me back into Gundam, and this is an old Easy 8 kit right here. Actually, that's these are both the same, and I think this one I bought later or whatever, and then this one I was just kit bashing it. So, or that used to be an RX-7, anyways. But they're kit bash both these parts, kind of. Um. So, anyways, in terms of advertising, so this was print advertising. I've still got the Death Side Hell up here. So that was another one. Like that's because it's these crappy ones. Um. These crappy kits they also were putting out there too. So like, oh, if you're 6, you can. Yeah, there's definitely something you can put together, and they're solo detailed. And these were repackaged with badass art or whatever, but they're still crappy kits. There's also an excerpt from Mark Simmons' Ultimate Gundam Guide that he put out in 2002 that wrote up some. He put like a rant in there about how these didn't take off because of how like they made the American people sound dumb for how they marketed these kits. Like it didn't take off because of how they were marketing it, because it made it sound like people were too dumb to put together plastic kits or something. And I wish I had that quote in front of me. My book's in storage. I read that quote out loud. It's verbatim when I did this panel at AWA. So this advertisement right here, this was in like comic book magazines, gaming magazines, whatever. The new, more powerful Gundams. Careful where you build them. And I actually did an article about this on Gunpla 101. I'll have to link this in the show notes here, or maybe I can add it as a edit it into the video. But I wrote about the history of all these Gunpla kits, how they were being marketed in America. So definitely check out that article that I wrote for Gunpla 101. That's been out for a couple years. I think since like 2019, 2020, I believe. But yeah, I mean, it's like this is the extreme thing where you got like the dog, like what the heck's going on, and you build these model kits and you're testing your parents' home insurance. You know, yeah, obviously careful where you build them because you don't have a house to live in. There's an insurance liability if you build model kits. Things like that. Like this is how you market it. Like, man, I want to build something that's gonna blow up my house. Hell yeah. God, I love this. So now we're gonna get into 2001. This is more Gundam on. I think this is me scrolling through it, but this is more Gundam on that aired later in 2001, 2002. 2001, we had Mobile Suit Gundam that was on Toonami, and it was eventually pulled due to bad ratings, but then they blamed it on 9/11. But eventually it ran back on Adult Swim in 2002 very briefly. Like, Mobile Suit Gundam, I don't believe, has ever had a full run all the way through on any of the blocks. It's had partial runs, but not a full run. So we had that. We had Gundam 0080 that aired November of 2001 in the Toonami Midnight Run, this is off my VHS copy that I taped off TV and I've uploaded on like a personal like torrent website. But I still have these rips to the show. They did some weird censorship on it. Maybe this will cover it. I did not put up the censorship. Okay, so the censorship for this was like Misha drank whiskey or whatever, but they just labeled like put soda over the label. They edited out Steiner's cigarette to like a toothpick or whatever. And then they did some cuts in terms of like the heavy violence parts of people bleeding and dying out, and like how shoot, Garcia got blown up or whatever. So it was stuff like that. But like 0080 is, I would say, one of the best Gundam little series or whatever out there. I would argue it's one of the best of like anything visually shown in Gundam, and it's a great Christmas anime too. And then we later, early in 2002, we got on Adult Swim 0083, which I also taped, so that's off of my recording right there. Um, that I enjoy 0083. I mean, it's obviously like Top Gun meets Gundam, and it's visually appealing. The plot needs a whole lot of work. Some characters need a whole lot of work, but all around, I really like that OVA. I'm a sucker for it. I know it's not the best. Now, later in 2002, we got Mobile Fighter G Gundam. That was something my friends and I would watch in high school. As a matter of fact, we had one guy that was taping the show, and so we like at lunch break we all came over and watched the finale of it like in a classroom or like a TV stand. I think it was like in the math teacher's classroom or whatever because we had like this downtime. So like, because I saw it and one guy was like, I hadn't seen it. I'm like, I taped it. I'll bring it over tomorrow. And so like we just had our lunch and watched like the end of G Gundam there. So that was over bonding there. Oh, good times. Later on Toonami we got SD Gundam. I watched it, and I only watched it because there's this really hot blonde chick called Mayor Margaret, and I'm a teenager, and she was a hot blonde, and for a cartoon CGI character. Um, Anyways, so that was on there. It only ran maybe a couple of times, and they took it off. Now SD Gundam, or it was called SD Gundam Force. It's a 52 episode show. They only aired the first half of it. And they only dubbed that first half. They never bothered to touch the rest. Also, we had Gundam Seed in 2005. Yeah, I believe 2005 on the Toonami moved from daytime to a Friday night block. And what was interesting about Gundam Seed, this is stuff I also recorded too. I didn't record all of it, sadly, because they switched up the time frame. I thought they took the show off, but then they wound up skipping a week and then airing the rest at like 1:30 in the morning. And I was at a friend's house later that year, and we were like, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Let's just see what's on Cartoon Network. And Gundam Seed was on. It was episode 49, and I was like, son of a bitch! Like, I could have been taping this whole time. But, anyways, there's been people that have been uploading rips of Gundam Seed periodically, but no one's been able to upload an entire run of this. I believe it's probably out there somewhere. But the interesting thing about Gundam Seed is the fact that they did censorship on these guns. I guess because it looks like a real gun, so let's make it into like a crappy Nerf gun with like, let's add a neon circle here, some neon lights, put some dots there. It doesn't make it real. Let's make that into their laser guns, right? Let's put like a laser thing there. It's so stupid. So that was a thing. So that was kind of the censorship stuff they did for this, for whatever reason. So we're kind of moving along here. Let's see what we got to. So that was Good MC 2000. All right, so 2004 of April. I was my mistake. No, that makes sense. It started in April, but then it finished up like May. I actually know. The story with that was my buddy and I went and saw Star Wars Episode 3, and we just hung out the rest of the day, and we were up all night for some reason. And then that's when we caught it, and that was like about April or May. It was May of 2005 that I saw the end of Gundam Seed, and I was like, crap, I could have been recording this entire time. So now we're moving on to, now we're moving on to 2008. And Gundam is now, which was predominantly always on Cartoon Network, is now being shown on Sci-Fi Channel's Anime Monday block. So a little bit about Anime Monday. It was an anime block that Sci-Fi Channel had starting in, believe, late 2005 or sometime in 2006 that aired Anime on Monday, and they aired a variety of stuff. Talking about Anime Monday is a whole other thing. But in 2008, that fall, they aired Gundam 00, which Gundam 00 at that time was not even a year old when it came when it aired in Japan and when it came out in the States. And I actually recorded most of Gundam 0080 on VHS. Because I know I got the first part of it, and I think the second part of it I just kind of got snippets of it here and there to keep up with the show. Anyway, so yeah, so that was like for a number of years, like Gundam wasn't on TV for a while. So we kind of go through this whole thing where we get to 2012, as I like the title, Bandai died, help computer. Bandai Entertainment went out of business, or at least closed down or whatever in America. And that was kind of like, okay, we all thought Gundam was dead. It's never coming back. You know, I guess we have to import everything. So that kind of helped. But also, Gundam Wing came back on Toonami April Fools in 2012. So this is the first time Gundam Wing was on Toonami since probably 2001 or 2002, I want to say. So like 10 years. And Gundam Wing came back for a one night only thing, and they aired some random episode on it. And you can find all this information on like schedules for Toonami or whatever online. There's people that are schedule nerds for this stuff, but it's all out there. So then we go to 2016. Toonami is doing pretty good for a good while. I mean, it's still on. It's kind of at this point, 12 years into it since it came back. 12 years since it came back. It just feels like right now it's on life support kind of, but they still air anime. It's still a thing. I kind of stopped caring about it a few years ago in terms of recording whatever I could off of Toonami. But the only thing I'm really recording off of it now was like Sailor Moon on the Friday afternoon thing. And only because like I just kind of want to watch the new dub for Sailor Moon on that. So that's really the only thing I'm keeping up on TV these days. Now but in the middle of all this, Toonami they had money to throw to get a bunch of stuff on there, but they had Iron Blooded Orphans that aired in 2016. Iron Blooded Orphans was a show that came out in 2013, 2014, I think. I know I'm going to get corrected on it. That's okay. But eventually made its way to TV. So now Gundam is sort of back again. Now we've had other Gundams since then too. So they actually they had a televised version of Gundam Unicorn that I actually recorded all of this as well. They also put on Gundam the Origin on Toonami, I believe 2018, 2019. And I actually did not record all of that, and I feel sad about it. But I've got the Origin OVAs on Blu-ray, so I feel like, But it's another cool thing to have another record of Gundam on cable network for archival reasons. But yeah, like condensing 7 big OVAs of Gundam Unicorn into like 20, I think it was like 24 episodes or something, 23 episodes, was actually a pretty good idea. And I felt like I think they showed more in these than maybe the OVAs, but it's been a long time since I've seen all of Unicorn, because Unicorn was coming out like, sporadically, in terms of like, we would get it, have to wait maybe a year, 9 months, sometimes I felt like almost 2 years on certain stuff. But Unicorn was a really cool thing to have them show on TV. So right now, what I have is these promos. The video stuff is going into this now. So this is the promo for Gundam Wing that was on Toonami, and I'm hoping this will pick up. But let me just make sure.
In the distant future, mankind has reached the stars, but the galaxy is troubled.
What do you think you're doing? Don't fire!
The Earthsphere Alliance rules the outlying colonies with an iron fist.
I'm sure God would understand the steps we're taking.
Isn't it about time you people realized the ones posing the most threat are none other than yourselves? We've had enough!
Those who oppose them...
We won't be needing you any further.
What?
Die. Battles are waged with mobile suits, the key to military dominance. The only hope for the colonies. 5 elite soldiers and their legendary mobile suits called Gundams.
There will be a day when the Gundams will save us all.
What this is war.
All of you are very mistaken, and the Gundams will soon come to rectify your mistakes.
Silence!
Now, these pilots will shake the foundations of the Alliance and change the course of history.
You saw I was a kid and you underestimated me.
Shouldn't be fighting at all!
If they can stay alive.
Those Gundam pilots are desperate. They'll battle even if it means forfeiting their lives. Mission accepted.
It's a Gundam! Enemy attack!
Gundam Universe, a new chapter in one of the greatest anime sagas of all time. Gundam Wing. Weekdays at 5:30. Suit up.
Those who have laid eyes on a Gundam shall not live to tell about it.
Only Toonami.
Now tell me, that promo came out almost 25 years ago. Now tell me that cannot sell you to watch Gundam. It got us all, like, the people who know that and saw that intro as a promotion for weeks before that show aired were excited because, like, I gotta know what the heck is a Gundam Wing. What is this? This is awesome. That promo still holds up to this day. All right, so I think the next one is the commercials for the model kits and how they marketed it. And this is just fantastic. It's so cheesy, but I love it.
Earth is in trouble.
Enemy attack! Enemy attack!
We need the Gundams.
It's here.
All new Gundam Wing action figure model kits.
That's a mobile suit!
Build your own Gundam mobile suit.
A Gundam!
Snap together multicolor pieces. No glue required. Extreme articulation. Pick your favorite or collect them all.
Gundams are on Earth.
Roger that.
Gundam Wing action figure model kits. Only from Bandai.
Okay, so that was the good one. This is the other one.
Level 5 Gundam, 17 hours.
Level 4, 3 days.
5 levels.
Level 3, 2 hours a night.
Up to 140 parts.
Level 1, Gundam, 1 hour.
Near endless articulation.
Level 5, 10 hours.
Gundam, what's your level of commitment?
Listen here! You ain't building Gundams, you ain't nothing! You can't step in my hood! Knowing that your Gundams are whack, mine are better. It's like, holy crap. It's almost, it's like Fast and Furious attitude for Gundam promotion at that time. Like, this is the era that I grew up in. It was awesome. Oh, man. They don't... I wish, like, even if it was bad, at least there was some attitude there. And I wish we had that in today's marketing, and we don't. Okay. So let's see what this next video is. I think I know. Okay, so this is the Char's Counterattack promo. So Char's Counterattack aired New Year's Eve, I think in 2001 or 2002, I believe. So this is the promo for Char's Counterattack.
14 years after the one-year war, Zeon forces yearn for redemption. Char, the leader of this rabble, has hatched a plan.
We will discipline the people who continue to live on Earth and eliminate the source of any wars in Earth's sphere.
Under the guise of surrender, Zeon will make their final assault.
What are they up to? Char.
What can you thinking? Deeming Earthlings so vile a creature, Char schemes to save the planet by destroying the people.
The Earth cannot go on like this any longer.
No one has a right to punish human beings that way.
Only the Londo Bell, Amuro Ray, and his Gundam stand in their way. Mobile Suit Gundam, Char's Counterattack. Saturday, January 4th at 11 p.m. An Adult Swim exclusive. Revenge is a dish best served cold.
Again, the people who worked on these promos for Cartoon Network like knew what they were doing. Char's Counterattack has not been back on TV since then. And I have my opinions on Char's Counterattack, but I will... I like the movie, but it is... If you don't know what's really going on, and I wish it was like fleshed out better, it would have been a better film. But, and I think this next clip is going to be the... let me see here. Okay, so this is the dubbing off of those Mobile Suit Gundam movies that we had on VHS. This is just a couple of clips from it in terms of, like, I enjoyed this dub. So here we go.
We have to save the people first. They're more important than any machine is.
Let's get started.
We're under attack.
Get aboard White Base immediately, Amuro.
White Base? What is that?
The military ship I came here in. What's the holdup here?
The starter's dead. It won't turn over.
Amuro, get on board now. I'll try to find a tractor.
But I wanted to help. Huh? One thing for sure, Gundam. You're big enough, but how bad are you? Better than the Zaku? I wonder if...
Amuro, come on, hurry! Are you okay?
Frau! Can you hear me, Frau? Can you stand? Do you think anything's broken?
No. What about you?
I'm okay.
Oh no! I see them, and they aren't moving!
Who, Frau? Who do you see?
My mother and grandfather.
I'm so sorry, Frau. We have to get out of here now. We don't want to get captured. Come on. Get control of it. You mustn't fall apart on me now. You have to get aboard the White Base. Think you can get there without me?
Uh-huh.
I'll know you're safe there. I'll find Dad. I'll join you as soon as possible.
I think I can make it.
You can do it. You can do it.
I just like how so aware Amuro is. It was like, who do you see? I don't know, the 30 dead people that just got blown up in front of us? And he's got to pull off his, like, 1950s, classic chauvinistic, in a way, backhand to the face of, damn it, woman, quit being emotional. Get it with it. You lost your folks. So did I. Get with the program. Get on that ship. Just no craps given, Amuro. Oh, it's so good. All right, so this is, I believe this is the part we're going to get to Steve Bloom as Char Aznavour. If you don't believe me, I think I have a very unique cue to let you know that it is really Steve Bloom.
It's like a graveyard. What? Hey! Don't make a move! Freeze! Drop that right now!
Well, you certainly don't look like a typical soldier or guerrilla. Who are you?
If I were you, I would stop.
Well now, I'm waiting for your command.
Why does it seem like we've met before? Take off that stupid mask and show me your face.
My little Artesia? It can't be. It just can't be.
A Xeon? What is going on?
Big brother!
And that's going to conclude it. I think that, yeah. So if you've seen Cowboy Bebop, I just kind of threw that in there for fun. And I don't know why this is playing again. There it is. Pause. Darn it. Anyways, yeah. So if you've seen Cowboy Bebop, obviously that's Spike's voice by Steve Bloom is incredibly notable. So I played that clip and people got a laugh out of it. I was like, well, I told you it would be someone you guys would probably know. Anyways, yeah, so that is my History of Gundam in America timeline. Now, in terms of, since I made this panel, and now that I'm, putting this on YouTube as a declassified panel thing, Gundam is still in America. You can still find Gundam stuff at Barnes & Noble. It's not the same as it was 20 years ago at big retail stores. Where there's no Gundam section at a Walmart or Target, but you can go to Best Buy, or not Best, well, yes, you can go to Best Buy. Like Best Buy, Barnes & Noble for sure. If you got a local hobby or comic book store that sells figures, they're going to have Gundam stuff in there somewhere. And, you can buy model kits. You can go to these, Barnes & Noble and buy model kits. You can go to Hobby Lobby and buy model kits. They have, like, discounts on model kits. I actually recently picked up version called Zeta Gundam on like 40% off because they do sales of model kits all the time, and got it for like I think 50 something with like shipping or whatever. So yeah, I mean like you could still Gundam is still out there. It's just it's not as predominant as it was in the 2000s like when I got into it, but it's a matter that it's still in America. It's you can still get your hands on it. I mean, we got, before Right Stuff got bought out by Crunchyroll, like they had the whole series on Blu-ray. And I believe you can still buy the Blu-rays to this day, the whole series. There's stuff that came out that I never thought would come out, like Victory Gundam and like Turn A Gundam and whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, we still have Gundam in America. It's not, if you mention Gundam on the same level as people knowing, say, Dragon Ball Z or Sailor Moon, it's going to be the lower end of that in terms of popularity. Because DBZ is so marketable, and same with Sailor Moon. But it's not like you can't get a hold of it. And with the internet and Amazon these days, it's way more convenient than the way I had it, and even people older than me had it in terms of trying to get anything Gundam related. And there's so much information out there about Gundam now that people are writing about. There's so many YouTube videos about it. I just showed you some channels to check out in terms of games, in terms of people talking about series. There's even people doing their own reviews of Gundam series that I saw one recently. I'm not going to really give the guy's YouTube name, but he was kind of trashing on Victory Gundam, and I'm like, okay, I probably need to rewatch the show again, but I know it's not as bad as you say it is, and I think you're just full of crap. Anyway, so I would like to do more of these eventually of declassified panels in the future, but I've got time today to do it. So like I said, I'm homesick. So thank you for watching this video. Give me a like or subscription or a comment saying how much you liked it or how much it took you back in time, nostalgia, things like that. And I will see you guys next time because I like putting up videos and doing stuff. So peace out.